Okay. All right. Thanks, Samuel. Okay, so welcome everyone to tonight's Fireside Chat. So I'm Chris. I'll be your host for tonight. So yeah, we are from Google Developers Student Club at NUS, and so today, for tonight's Fireside Chat, we are fortunate enough to have four plus Jade, four highly talented and inspiring speakers join us tonight. Yeah, and they'll be sharing with us, their experiences in what they do, their operations, and also like how they have applied technology to help them as well in their day-to-day operations. So throughout the session, we also post a Slido link in the chat, so where you can send in your questions. Then we will answer them in the Q&A session later on at the end of the session. Okay, so without further ado, let us welcome our speakers for tonight. So first we have Sherry, founder of Planner B. Yeah, and then next we have and then next we have Nicholas from co-founder and CEO of Outside.
Hi, Aaron.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, we have Miss Sim and Jade from Food from the Heart.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so can I just get the speakers to do you guys want to introduce yourselves, and you can just tell us like who you are and a little bit about what you do. Yeah, like anybody can start first.
Bihia, maybe we let you go first.
Oh, okay. Because I'm the eldest. Okay. I'm Simbi here. I'm the CEO of Food from the Heart. I've been with Food from the Heart since middle of 2018. So I've always been a volunteer. And at Food from the Heart, working with a team, we have also come up with digital-based projects like Project Plunger and Community Shop. And we will share more of that later. Okay, and really the one thing that what is happening now with the food charities is that I think there's a lot more awareness of food insecurity. And what drives the team is really that we can make a difference. We can be the shield and buffer for our beneficiaries, especially during COVID. It has reinforced the role of food charities as well. So we will chat later. I think we'll take more questions rather than I go into a whole narrative. Okay?
Sure. All right. Thank you, Miss Sim.
Sorry, Sherry, do you want to go next? I'm so sorry, I'm muted because I'm in the office, so I'll most likely be responding a bit slower. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Hi everyone, and thank you for inviting. I was from NUS 2 donkey years ago, business school. So I'm the founder of Planner B. It's a digital financial planning mobile app. The reason for creating this is really to allow people to take their finances into their hands with some guidance. It shouldn't be so difficult, and it should be available to everybody, especially when it's a topic that is not taught in school. I was fortunate enough to be educated about these things early on in my life by my family, and spent many years just churning out Excel sheets and quotations. So I decided one day to create an app to allow Asians to actually do this by themselves. So for some people, I realized the younger people are also not really talking to human beings as much as Googling these days. So in advance of me losing my job, it's also a good move. My co-founder is my brother. He was also from NUS Business School. So I'm happy to take any questions about what we do later. Nicholas, over to you.
Yeah, all right. All right, I think, for us, I'm actually one of the co-founders of Outside. So I started with a group of friends. A bit of a weird story, but we met when we were in secondary school in the social entrepreneurship club. And from that, we actually went on to start like a few different businesses together since we left school. So that's been about 10 years now across 7 different ideas. So Outside was something that we came up with in about 2015 to try and connect neighbors to help each other with daily errands. The main difference that is changing now is that we actually made a pivot And I think the things that are listed there are more socially inclined. But what we primarily do is that we work with businesses to break down jobs into smaller, simpler pieces. So we actually help them to create SOPs and guides, and just to make the jobs a bit more flexible, so much like what we do for volunteering, so that people from the untapped labor market, like students, homemakers, and seniors, can pick up flexible jobs when they are free while juggling their own responsibilities. Yeah, I think that's generally about us. Yeah, I think I can share more later on too.
Okay, sure. All right. Thank you guys for, I hope everyone knows them a little bit better and also like what they do. Yeah, okay. So so next then, would you guys want to share about how technology have helped you guys in what you guys do in your field, and and also if applicable, how do you guys use it to do social good as well?
Well, since I went last just now, I think I'll go first now. And so
Sure.
sorry, I was
Thanks,
stuttering
Nicholas.
throughout because I don't know why I was breaking down at the start of introduction, but I'm trying to get comfortable now. Yeah, so I think for us, primarily what we do is pretty much outsourcing. You can think of it as like business breaking down jobs to outsource with us. So we are already a very tech-based company in the first place. What we did throughout COVID was that we actually helped businesses to hire people from this untapped labor market pool. So majority of our users are actually students, not really a surprise because of tech savviness. The main group that we are looking to help is actually stay-at-home moms. So the homemakers is actually the largest pool that we are targeting. So throughout the whole period, I think what we did was that we kind of helped a number of clients, like about $100,000 worth of jobs throughout COVID, to try and make it more accessible and simpler. So we really like work with our clients to break down these jobs into really tiny, like modular to-do pieces. And then we shared it over and started sourcing for people for them. So that's what we did at first. The part that we actually got to use this technology for good was when we actually started working with MVPC and IMDA. So I think just now it was an interesting topic that Sim and the rest of the Google Club guys are discussing about, right? Like on how volunteering and why youths aren't volunteering that much. We have a hypothesis there on hyperlocality and convenience. And we use this to actually try and break down volunteerism into what we call micro-volunteering, whereby you only contribute to help for like 1 hour or 2 hours out of a week whenever you're free. So that was when the structure that we created became something useful during this whole COVID period. And I think we are actually testing out with Satya Sai right now for us. Yeah, the people at UNOS site to try and see if we could help them to actually, same thing also, deliver food to people who, the seniors who are staying at the area. So that's the main thing that we actually got to do during this period. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, Nick, actually, I saw like, initially, outside was meant to sort of just provide these micro jobs. Then, I read up. I mean, you could maybe share more. Like, so, I saw that, was it last December or something? You guys like sort of, implemented like a senior portion, like senior citizen section of the app where, sort of to help these senior citizens, and then you also don't really like charge them for the services. So like, is this sort of like your part of like helping them as well, like during this pandemic?
I think it's a few different things at the same time. For us, generally, we just wanted to do what we can. And since we already had a solution that was suitable and we found beneficiaries that could use our help, we didn't charge both sides, and I tried to connect errands for free during that period. And I think besides that, all the profits for, I think, December, like as you guys giving week and the rest, we kind of donated everything out to different beneficiaries. I'm so sorry, Missy, we actually didn't do from the, it was one of the things that we were looking at, like we had a short list, but yeah, I'm so sorry. Like we targeted youths to try and help with education, like early childhood education. So we kind of put together like 10 tech startups from Singapore, and we funded like a few $1,000s in total for charity. So I think it's a few different things that we're working on. But generally, I'll say that the motivation for us was just that we all knew that, we're giving out vouchers and stuff during that time. And as people who were playing in like the tech scene, we just felt like we could contribute a bit more than just our solution. So yeah, the team and the other startups that we were friends with just decided that it's something we could do together.
All right, yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, that's really nice. Okay, so Sherry, do you want to go next or?
Yeah, sure. I think the industry that I am in, it's just inevitable that technology will have to intervene. I think just like everything else, I think tech is going to be a part of everybody's lives and industries, just like how electricity is. It's not going to skip any field, even art. You know, like with NFTs coming out. Just don't want to start on that topic yet. Yeah, but I think what we came from was efficiency. That the way things were working in the industry was very inefficient, whether you talk about it within the backend systems or the how advisors are doing their work and how people could actually even find a way to figure out what exactly they need to do with their finances. It's gotten better over the years, and which is why we decided that, hey, it's now time for us to start doing something online with the support of the government. We launched only after the government announced that there is open financial planning system in Singapore, which is something adopted in the UK. What it means is that you should be able to own your data and use it across the different financial institutions that you are customers of. What that does for you is then you'll be able to use that connectivity. In our terms, API is what you guys would use a lot. We just basically collect all of the information and give you a full picture of what you have and what you should do. It's not very different from what is done in the industry, except you string down the time of doing that from days and hours to just a few minutes. Then the next question is, do we solve the problem for the incumbents, meaning the insurers or the advisors, or do we solve the problem for the end users? We just feel that with the rise of a lot of self-servicing stuff like Grab, and you could do things yourself, you could order things online yourself, that going straight to the consumer is probably the best play. It's the riskiest, but it's the best play that we think we can execute, and that's to leave a product in the hands of the consumer with the help of technology, that you don't need to go around and go and figure out what you should do. It should guide you along the way, and you don't need to spend hours figuring out. It's all logic anyway, so we built that in. Yeah, I think unlike what the other two founders are doing, where we're not that noble, we're not feeding people, but I think it's also a kind of a form of education that's very important. In order for people to move out of the poverty cycle, they need to learn from somewhere else. If their parents are not the inspiration because they didn't know better, then being educated about this is also another value that we strongly believe in, that we think we can help with. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sherry, just to clarify, like, could you share more about, like, so I mean the whole point of Planner B was to sort of make like to sort of enable us like end users, consumers have a very ready and convenient app where we can access and plan, like, sort of like plan our finances and as well our insurance, right? Yeah. So
yeah, that's right. Were you going to continue with the question?
I mean, so maybe I think that's really like interesting, especially like especially now that, I mean, sorry, not now, but I mean, like, traditionally Singapore, I mean, us as agents, I mean, I think sometimes we are like a little bit conservative or hesitant to talk about finances, right? Especially I think finance as a topic can be a bit sensitive. So
Definitely.
and you're right, like not everybody is like might be very fortunate to be like well educated about such things. Like maybe sometimes their parents are not as financially literate about such topics. So I think that if we have an app that can help and provide all the information, and I think you mentioned that ever since the government passed the open financial planning, the rule, right, that we can have more data for ourselves. I mean, we can see the data, our own data, right?
Yeah. And really it's the use of technology to allow people to collect the data faster. And that's what you need to do, to figure out what you should do with your life financially. I mean, money is just a means to an end. If you want to achieve a certain kind of lifestyle, it just requires you to plan for it. You live for today, you plan for tomorrow. And how can that be done more efficiently? We hope to help people with that. And the thing is that I think a lot of people have also the stigma of talking to someone. And to be honest, the industry does not have a very high barriers to entry. Some advisors will hate me for saying this, but it's the truth of the matter. You don't really need to be extremely smart to sell a financial product, be it a mutual fund or a loan or insurance plan. And sometimes people are, I mean, the system is incentivized in a very sales way. So it's only understandable that consumers find it very intimidating to approach somebody to get advice that they think is good for them. I'm not saying that everybody does, every salesperson is bad that way, but I'm just saying that if that deters people from trying to do something better for them, then an alternative is a safe space where no one's watching, then it's through the internet. And instead of telling someone fully stripping down naked, like, hey, I actually overspend every month, it might be also very uncomfortable, especially in the Asian context where we don't talk about money. So we're hoping that if we give you a faceless thing, that is your plan B, your alternative plan, that you can actually then be honest about it and see the full truth. Yeah, but unfortunately there are actually people I've met that are actually afraid of trying the app out because they don't want to scare themselves. They're not ready to face it, because the app actually would tell you exactly how much you spend and how much you spend in each category when you just sync your bank account. It auto categorizes it, and then you instantly say, oh, okay, actually I spend 70% of my money on cats, and it's $2,000 that month. And a lot of people that are unwilling to make that change, they would refuse from seeing that truth, and they won't use that. But then nobody can help them.
Yeah, I mean that's out of your control. Yeah, at least you've provided them with the help that they can get. It's up to them to use it.
Yeah, I think for those people, they need to see a psychiatrist or psychologist to reframe. But this topic can get very deep. It's also something that we want to educate. So we have a huge a work on education. We try to keep all of the topics very neutral, so we don't write strongly about any product that we don't believe in. We also we are not paid to write any product recommendations. So at least then that is on brand to what we are looking to do, which is being neutral.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, that's really nice to to feel at least more secure. To have a brand neutral perspective or advice on these financial plans and everything.
That's the aim.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Sim, do you wanna tell us more?
Food from the Heart is a food charity. We specialize in providing food support. And over the years, I think there have been a lot of conversations on food insecurity, especially I think last year during circuit breaker months. I think at the height we were getting, we were covered actually in a lot of the media. That helped actually to carry the voice of the beneficiaries. So I won't go into the actual operations because I think today's topic is really on technology. So I'll just focus on the technology part of it. So for the rest who wants to know about Food from the Heart, you can actually Google us, Food from the Heart. You can read about us on Facebook and the website. So I won't go into some of the details. What was the role that technology played in our field? Actually, we were quite lucky. We had a head start before COVID struck. So we were already digitalizing the way we manage beneficiaries, the way we raise funds, the way we do our operations, and the way how technology can give us data and for us to use the data in a productive and efficient manner. So that was the backdrop when COVID came. So in 2019, we took the year to actually distribute beneficiary card. And the beneficiary cards were already planned well ahead that we're going to use QR codes So every beneficiary from Food from the Heart received the card with their respective QR code. It took us a long time to distribute because we work with partners. So if you look at the entire ecosystem of food support, we are the source, we raise funds, we raise food, and then we work with partners like schools, senior activity center, family service centers, or over Singapore. And then we are like more like the wholesaler. And then we have the partner who does the last mile distribution or delivery. So when we want to give out cards to our beneficiaries, we do it through our partners. And some of our partners are actually manned by volunteers, themselves. Some of these volunteers may be more than 60 years old. So the threshold for us to digitize and digitalize in this space, we knew that we had to go for the low-hanging fruits. So we knew that our beneficiaries may not be IT savvy. So we decided, why not we give them a card with a QR code? So they need to just flash their card, right? Not flash the badge, their cards, okay? And then what we do is that, then from there, when we did our digitalization, we actually did it with a whole ecosystem in mind. How does the card link back to how do we operate with our partners? How do we identify our beneficiaries? How do we get to know what each beneficiary have taken? When did they take it and what did they take? And then that comes back to our warehouse. So the operations part of it, the warehouse, people donate food. Every item has to be checked. It used to be paper. And when you go through the whole cage, you at the start, at the top, you have checked, tuna, 12 cans. And then you thought that's it. Then you go to middle of the cage, got 5 more tuna, you got to cancel and add 5 more. And then when you hit the bottom, there's another 10 cans and you got to cancel and add another 10. Now we've digitalized that. We now have a device that we just need to scan the food item and it goes into our inventory system. Now, this is quite different from the supermarket system where they need to be very exact with the SKU. For us, we only need to identify, is it a big tuna or a small tuna? We need not know what brand. We need not know the flavor. We just need to know is tuna big or small because that goes into the food pack. So we actually customize what is out there in the commercial world to suit our purpose to the level of accuracy or the level of efficiency that we need. We need not be fair price, right? So we just need to know what goes into the system, what will go out. And then we started 2 initiatives. We call that Project Plunger, where in Malay, Belanja means I give you a treat. So we work with the hawkers. Beneficiaries just use their card, the same card with the same QR code. The hawkers, participating hawkers can scan their card and then they get a warm meal. So this Project Plunger, there are 2 generations to it. The first generation was really 1 meal a day, 30 days, 31 days a month. Every day they get 1 warm meal. But the data showed, the data was critical. Technology doesn't exist alone. It comes with the data and how do you use the data? How do you mine that data? And the data showed that the claim rate of the meals was only about 40, 50, 60%. So in the second generation, when we did Project Plunger in August last year, we actually down that to 15 meals a month, 1 meal a day. And that means the same sum of money can go to double the number of beneficiaries. So technology and data has helped us to do that. And Project Plunger has stood the test of time because during COVID, they were the program that was not disrupted because beneficiary can still go to the participating stores, they could still tapao back, they could still eat there when it's the dine-in. So that wasn't, that proved that it worked. The second project that we did was Community Shop. We decided actually both projects has one common factor, which is seamless food support. Now, when we want to give food support, in Singapore, people still find very xiasui, very embarrassed to go and get food support. There's a bit of shyness to it. So we wanted to change that equilibrium that asking for food support is not something that you should be embarrassed about. Food insecurity can be transient, can be more chronic, can be generational. And in that manner, we wanted them to feel good about collecting food. And the feedback from our engagement is that they wanted choice. So how do you give them choice and how do you make sure that food given out is also not wasted? Because if you give someone who doesn't eat baked beans, you're going to waste that baked bean, right? So we created this idea of a community shop. We have 2 of them, one in Mountbatten, one in Boon Lay, and we're going to start a 3rd shop next quarter. And what the shop does is really 12 credits a month using the beneficiary card, and they can choose the type of food they want, the size they want, and when they want it. During opening hours, they can just walk in. If I run out of rice, I can just go in and choose the rice. I can choose a bigger pack of rice. I can choose a smaller pack of rice. And that dignity of choice is important for them. That's first thing. But at the back end, what technology has helped us achieve is the community shop is manned by 24 hours camera. Volunteers man the shop. They get access into the shop through a remote control. It comes with an e-POS system where we actually scan every item that each beneficiary take. And we will know each beneficiary, what did they take, when did they take, what type of food they take. We profile that against race, against age, against family type. And then we can then use that data to chart future directions of how food can be given out. And it has proved that it worked. 1 year after Mountbatten has opened, the dipstick survey has showed that, you know, the beneficiaries prefer this mode of getting food support. And also, you know, for them, it's really quite simple. It's really just a beneficiary card. So, you know, it's just walking in with a card, and they feel good going into the shop. So that's what we do with beneficiary management, with our operations, with data analytics, and we work with OCBC data analytics team. They have created the formulas for us. They have put it into a laptop. They've presented that to us. We just now need to key in x-axis, y-axis, and we will get our data. So it's about how the system is built in to help us to fish and not giving us the fish so that it lasts a few years and not ad hoc, right? And really the how and what do we decide to digitize? It really depends on what we need and how do you want to use it for the future. So this ecosystem, you know, it doesn't exist alone. When we touched online fundraising, we had a head start to that. So we managed to raise a lot of funds last year. It gave us a buffer for this year as fatigue sets in and we are not sure what is in the future. So it gave us a buffer. So the online fundraising is tagged to data for how do we manage donors, how do we manage volunteers, and then it's also tagged to the warehouse. Everything works together as an ecosystem. So technology, digitalization cannot exist just for one particular part of the work. It is really creating the ecosystem, and we get the people involved to sit down and talk through their pain points, what needs to be solved using technology, and that's how we did it. And really maybe a question for some of you all to think about is really that the profile of beneficiaries will change. It will change in the next 3 years, next 5 years, because currently someone who is 65 may not have a smartphone. Someone who is 60 now, 5 years later, they will definitely have a smartphone. They probably be able to go into Facebook and post. They're probably familiar with WhatsApp. They're probably familiar with Telegram and all that, you know, given how COVID has affected everyone. So really, we need to stay relevant even with technology. Today's technology may not work for us 3 years down the road. So we just have to be very visionary and think ahead, that we're dealing with a group of volunteers, managing a group of volunteers who might be more savvy, beneficiaries who might be more savvy. So the communications would change, the channels would change in 3 years time, in 5 years time. So that is what we're anticipating. So just something for you all to think about. I think that's enough for a starter.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Sim. Yeah, wow. I think I mean personally for me, I didn't know that, yeah, like how much like how much planning goes behind the scenes, and for yeah, like a food donation program like Food for the Heart, as well as the whole set up the ecosystem, right? Yeah, like I think a lot of these factors, yeah, as like I mean personally I didn't think about how much planning goes into and how important it is to have this ecosystem that tracks everything.
I think everyone who wants to, it's very easy to give food in Singapore. This food paradise. You go downstairs, there's a hawker store, there's coffee shop, supermarkets, right? It's very easy to give food. If you're celebrating your birthday, a few of your friends can come together, you buy food, you go to a rental block and you can go and distribute. But something that we hope you will think about is sometimes giving must be done responsibly. You must know whether the person needs the food and whether other people are giving. Like for example, Christmas is coming, right? But you know, everyone only eats 3 meals, right? Maybe for me, I may eat 4, but you know, everyone has a certain number of meals. Giving more during a particular period may not be a good thing because it may land up having wastage. Food from the Heart is part of the food work group working with MSF, where they have tried to map up who gets food support, what type of food support, and it has shown that certain places are overserved, certain places are underserved. So for Food from the Heart, we specialize in dry rations. The shop Project Plunger is a meal program. It's a seamless way where you know the beneficiaries can just go downstairs and claim their meals, right? It's the most undestructive way. The hurdle is low. But we're willing hearts that do meals, delivery, Mummy Yummy, delivery of food as well. So it's a lot more complex than just buying food and giving. So there's a lot more dimensions to it. So even food insecurity, you do have people who are temporary food insecure. Like if someone lost a job during COVID last year, a few months later, they find a job, they get out of the cycle, and that is transient, temporary. Then you have the chronic, the more permanent one, the elderly who is not well, who doesn't have a job, and they'll probably break the cycle, sad to say, when they pass on. Then you have the generational food insecure, meaning the parents are not doing well, like what Sherry has said, the parents are not doing well, the children are the people who suffer. And when they break out the cycle, it's probably when the children have finished their education, got a job, and they move on, and that's when they break the cycle. But sad to say, we do see cases where even that generation doesn't break the cycle because they don't get to take the bus to school, they don't get to eat properly, utilities are cut, and they don't go to school. It's a vicious cycle, and it may be the next generation that will break the cycle. So food insecurity, when we talk about food insecurity, you cannot do it in one dimension because there's different group of people facing food insecurity. So that's a more complex background to what we do.
Okay, thank you, Missy, for sharing. Okay. Okay. So I just inform our guests, our audience that so you can scan this QR code or the link. So it'll bring you to the Slido link for the Q&A, so you can post your questions in there.
Can they just ask the question like that as well?
We can have a Q&A session later as well. Like at the end. Okay. So next, so could you guys share more about how if the pandemic has impacted your operations, if there's any challenges, and as well as any future any solutions that you guys have sort of implemented, seeing as to how Singapore is going to treat COVID-19 as endemic, right, more rather than pandemic.
Gentlemen first.
All right, sure. I think for us, when COVID first hit us, I think what we started implementing was towards contactless delivery. So that one is more of like government regulations, right? So I think we're just trying to make sure that our community is safe. So we started with that. And what we eventually realized is that it's causing people their jobs too. And that's when we started our pivot about like 1-2 years ago. And that's when we started testing out the whole concept of micro jobs. And I think for us, when the pandemic hit us, we realized that our community was suffering even more. And despite making it free, peer-to-peer only allows you to earn a few bucks for each like inconvenience that you help with. So what we realized then was that business could not actually help maintain the operations by hiring so many people, that they need help with outsourcing. And we have these people who are misplaced or displaced because of the pandemic itself. So for us, that's pretty much what led to our pivot, and kind of like the solutions that we created was to help both sides, but mainly towards making sure that there's a safe environment, reliable payments for these people from the untapped labor market to actually have some opportunities to make some money, while balancing everything that's happening during that period. Yeah, so I'll say that that's actually the main thing that happened to us during the whole pandemic state. I think changing towards endemic itself does not really impact any of our operations. Ultimately, it's just learning to live with something that might never be gone, right? But again, like what can we do right now, right? Like generally as a platform, best that we can do is try to limit contact between people, make sure that environments are safe, and still continue helping people with earning opportunities and upskilling in the future for us. So pretty much we just did what we can, but yeah, sadly I don't have too much to share on this.
I also like to ask more, Nick, about so in the future, I think just now you mentioned something about were you working something with the tourism part or something?
Oh, how do you even know about that? Yeah, but we did had something with the tourism side, but we didn't go ahead with that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To be very honest, we had a lot of opportunities during this period, and we had to focus our direction, and we just decided that we're gonna stick to helping people to earn and upskill instead. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. Just wanted to ask.
Yeah, maybe I can just share. I think the fortunate thing for our business is that we were already moving the activity online. In fact, when we started in 2019, the entire team was remote. For economic reasons that we cannot afford developers from NUS or Singapore, so we had to hire from Vietnam. We are very tech heavy, so we managed to find really good people that we could work with remotely, and thankfully they are still with us, and they I think it's a harder space in Vietnam to be in than in Singapore. I often remind ourselves that we are very fortunate here. But because we were set up to be remote pre-COVID, the business in itself is actually digital, and our operations were not really hit. We also actually had more awareness and openness from the incumbents. Insurers were not really very willing to work with us initially because they don't want to disrupt the industry. But post-COVID, we had them actually approaching us to work with them because they see the value in distributing their products online and being more open and transparent in the products that they're actually selling. Previously, you would find very little information online about what they are selling. The details, fine prints are not listed there, but over the years, it's gotten more transparent. And with more people searching online, they feel the need that they need to move forward, and a platform like us was made for this. So in other words, actually, COVID did help us to move forward a little bit faster with the people that we want to work with. Yeah. But we are very happy working remotely, and that probably won't really change when the world is we can get different people from different parts of the world working with us on a product that we want to build.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Miss Sim, do you want to share more about moving forward, if there's any? I think you have a lot of plans in mind.
Yeah, I think if you want to talk about COVID, right, 1 hour also not enough. Whatever was the norm, the templates were all thrown out of the window. So
yeah, definitely.
we will affected I probably will just share a few anecdotes because I think those stories probably will then interest all of you about what we all went through. When DOSCON became orange, on February 8th, we also opened our first community shop. That opening, suddenly our main sponsors couldn't come. Suddenly, we had to take out guests because we cannot take in the guests. And then, the night before the shop's opening, we saw FairPrice, all the supermarket shelves were empty. And the next morning when we stood in front of the shop, all our shelves were full, and our beneficiaries, the role of a food charity was just reinforced straight away, visibly in front of us, that because of our existence in the shop, our beneficiaries need not worry that they don't have rice. They need not worry that they don't have luncheon meat. The irony is people tell us you should not be giving canned food, you should not be giving instant noodle, it's not healthy, it's high sodium. But look what went off the shelves when people started hoarding. Everybody went after the canned food and the instant noodles, right? So that is a big impact on us. And in that month alone, our entire CSR by the companies were all cancelled. 400 over volunteer opportunities were all cancelled. We had to find people to come in to pack the food packs so that the food packs can go out on time. So that was a huge first instant, when we got hit and we didn't know where it came from overnight. Okay. Then as it went into circuit breaker months, our partners, just now as explained, we are more like a wholesaler in a sense, right? We work with partners. Our partners started to shut one by one. So we have the food pack, we have the beneficiary, but our little supply chain was disrupted because our partners shut. Some were family service centers, some were senior activity centers, and by the guidelines, they were all shut. Overnight, we had to deliver 3,000 over bags to 3,000 over doorsteps instead of 30 plus distribution points. It was just granular, okay? We had to find space to run our packing because 10 people, that same space, we originally had 20. We now had to find space for another 10. We had to split the operations. We had to secure space immediately. But what was very blessed was that the regular volunteers, the individual volunteers all came in to help us to tide over this, okay? And then the door-to-door deliveries, we started to get direct applications. In the past, we worked with partners, but now we have direct applications coming in through our social media, through our emails, through phone calls, asking for food. And we had to get those out. We were whitelisted by MSF, and we had to, they had cases where the ground up initiatives have to stop because they were not whitelisted. We took over the cases and continued to raise money and raise food to get that out. And really, it is quite endless when you talk about it. We don't know how we went through that, but we managed to keep everyone safe. Every time the rules change, we had to change. But what was very interesting is that we sort of have a little bit of different calendar from everyone else. When everybody was at home, we actually had volunteers because it was one legitimate reason to get out of the house because they can come out and help us to deliver food. So when the rules change and that, you go back to work, suddenly our door-to-door volunteers just dropped because they all went back to their daily lives. So we had a reverse sort of a problem that we faced during COVID. But I think what COVID has done is really it has given us that acceleration bullet to accelerate the digitalization process. It was much easier talking to hawkers about the app, collecting, redeeming the meals, we paying them digitally. It was much easier convincing our partners to say you use the app so that we know who collected, who didn't collect, because we had to keep track of who interacted with who. So we still had to keep those data. So it was a huge growth period for us in terms of digitalization. In terms of our beneficiaries, we were serving a lot more. We closed December 2019 packing about 6,000 over bags. We are now packing close to 11,000 bags every month. And each bag is about 15 items. That is at least 165,000 food items that will go through our hands every single month. So COVID has changed the whole rules. We now have a COVID response plan where corporates will send us their people if the team at the warehouse is affected. Suppliers are on standby. If we are affected, we'll place order and deliver. But the digitalization and all going online has helped us. We now have donors who will order directly on RedMart, FairPrice, Lazada, Shopee, and the food will get sent to our warehouse. So that it has been a very colorful year, 18 months. And you can read about it in our annual report where we talk about how we emerge stronger through the COVID. But it has really helped in terms of digitalization.
All right, thank you, Missy. Oh yeah, I think COVID, yeah, really like forced everyone, yeah, to speed up the digitalization process. I think, yeah, I mean, I think it was really very innovative with the whole. I mean, luckily with the QR code solution and like the card that you guys have implemented, I think luckily that it can withstand the disruptions that COVID has caused us. Yeah, and still help the beneficiaries.
Actually, one of the biggest thing that we benefited and our beneficiaries benefited is the fundraising. Everything went online and it became a very colorful, very vibrant way of raising funds. Everyone can help us to raise funds on giving.sg. It's no longer just the professional team and the board's duty to raise funds. So we had, I think, NTU students who were doing squats for funds. So if you squat how many times, you raise how much money. It became very creative, very unique. It was, we really reached the blue ocean in that sense of how we actually raise funds. And it has changed the entire pie of where our funds come from. So that has really changed. I mean, for Food from the Heart, it has been really the game changer. Yeah.
Oh, but is there any specific reason, like how come the like fundraising was like so much better during the pandemic?
Okay, in the past we have Passion Ball where we actually reach out to about 350 the really the Peak Magazine, Tatler Magazine, society group, where they will actually buy the tables, do the auction, and we raise about 800,000, 600 to 800,000. We run golf, but all the face-to-face programs, we couldn't do it. So we actually moved everything online. We already had an online presence. So we started to run campaigns there. But when corporates, they also couldn't do much. Their hands were tied because they of the safe distancing. So all were channeled to helping us to raise funds. Schools who cannot do, volunteer for us also went into fundraising, went into food donation drive. So everything went online, and it was own time, own target. And it was something that was that stood the test of COVID. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Missy. All right, so yeah, thank you guys for sharing about everything and how, and I think it was really very very insightful of how technology has played such a big part in what you guys do in your fields. Yeah, so I think now we'll move on to like Q&A. Yeah, so the audience, if you guys have any questions, like if you guys want to turn your camera and ask, like you can do so now.
Hi everyone, hi speakers. Thank you for your sharing so far. So my name is Jermaine and I have a question that I think is more directed towards Nick and Sherry. So I'd like to ask, how was your startup experience and was it difficult to find funding, sponsorships and other forms of support so that you can sustain doing social good? Yeah.
Sherry, do you want to go first?
Sure. Just to clarify, although we have a mission to empower people to get better with their finances, compared to the other two businesses, we are far from social good driven. we do need to sustain ourselves. Fundraising, first question, it's very difficult. Thankfully, the government has some grants that you can apply to help, build the MVP and stuff like that. As a person that coming from that background, I also did a lot of preparation work in order to fund the business myself. We intend to grow the business traditionally, and we did not look for the route to go into the VC route. If you're aware of them, they usually do multiples of what they're going to they could give the VCs to exit like about 10 times of their investment. In other words, you also need to grow that quickly within that period of their investment. With the results, don't quote me, but you can see how IPO results are like these days, and often or not, a lot of these companies for growth, they're not very profitable. So as somebody that's quite traditional with regard to finance, what I'm building is a sustainable business that's profitable on its own. We do have some funding, but it's from people that really like what we're doing. They believe in the passion, in our passion and what we're driving at. They also see that the future is moving towards a more omni-channel approach to financial planning. So I think compared to those countries like say Vietnam and Malaysia, we've got at least 100,000 sitting around by the government. If you intend to do any, business ideas, do maybe try to do your research first and try to apply for these grants. Especially for NUS, there's also NUS Enterprise. They give a further, I think, $30,000 for you as a student if it's your first time. Even as a graduate, they also give. So they do help you along the way to assess whether it's a viable business. But a lot of these things, especially if it's a new concept like ours, it's hard to test unless you build an MVP and then you test it with the market. Faster way is you put out fake ads and then you try to get some results with a few $100s with the ad response on a landing page, which I believe you guys can build in a split second compared to what I had to do.
Oh, so was it difficult like that when you first started off? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think what Planner B does is like quite an untouched and a new field, right? So was it difficult, like maybe especially tech wise, maybe considering that you're not like you're a business graduate, right?
Oh yeah, I think I definitely had a really hard time with the tech people because I don't speak the language, so it's very hard communicating. So and I think maybe communication wise, I had because I come from a business speech. So when I explain things, perhaps it seemed overly simplified, but when the tech people eventually start doing it, it's way more complex than they expected. And then we get into a lot of conflicts. I wasted a lot of time and money learning those lessons, learning how to be a better project manager now. But my brother took pity on me, then he joined me in the end, and he's an AI engineer. After he's a finance graduate, but then he moved into AI because he feels that eventually fund management will move into tech space, and I was very encouraging that he should move into that because having both parts of the picture would enable him to thrive in the corporate setting anyway in the far future. But then I grabbed him for myself. Now we are building this thing together, which actually helps a lot because he understands the business use case. At the same time, he can protect the back end of our architecture, which is very important because we are collecting people's financial and personal data. From a tech perspective, if you fundraise, you put the word AI, very sexy, people will more likely give you money. But the fact of the matter is AI is not a very viable use case for our business. Logic works better. So that is, I think it's a tedious process, but not exactly rocket science. But to build an app that is scalable for like 20,000 people to use, it's a lot harder than building an MVP, because you have to make sure the app works fine. If it crashes, it doesn't crash the whole thing. And then you have the marketing side of things that also requires tech actually. Whatever I learned donkey years ago, it does not apply anymore. In marketing, it's a whole new world I'm learning from. We have actually 2 interns with us now from NUS,
Okay.
and I'm learning a lot from them also. It's a difficult journey. If you want to try, you can try it when you're younger. It's probably better. I have aged a lot during this journey. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe I can chip in a little more on the
Mm.
fundraising part. I think something you are asking about, if you are social impact based startup, right? Like if you want to fundraise and stuff along that line.
Yeah.
Like getting support and funds, right? So actually, honestly, you guys are super lucky. I wish I was that young again. Because generally back when I was your age, I'm not sure how young you guys are, but let's say 5 years ago when I started, I think there wasn't that much support for youth entrepreneurship. Like, like when I started at 16, we get discriminated and stuff. Like, people don't talk to us because they don't think we know stuff. And then my friend went on to get on the news because he's a 16-year-old founder. Like, I mean, the world changed a lot since then. And now there's a lot of programs that are actually helping out with youths. So even, especially if you are social impact based, right? Even for the VC side, now there's sustainable investing that also counts as long as it's part of like the UNDG. And I think there's funds that are prepared by a lot of the government sectors. So for example, I think RAISE has a youth arm also. And I think there's a difference between social enterprise and NPOs. So like Miss Sims is part of NPO, right? And social enterprise can generally just mean a tech startup that is trying to do social good, right? That could literally be anything, like down to Carousel. Might even make sense to join under social enterprise. But of course, people will brand themselves differently along the way. Yeah, so I think there's really a lot of money out there. Like in fact, right now we're also getting some form of like program by Youth Action Challenge. So there's also a whole bunch of youths in there. And what we're doing is that everyone's going down different paths of like creating decent work opportunities, work-life harmony, you got sustainability and tracks along this line. You get attached to mentors who are like way ahead of you in experience, and of course like they got access and help you to link you up to more partners. And I think the main thing, I mean, okay, we're based in Hangar in NUS too, so we also got a lot of support from programs and competitions that are hosted in NUS. And of course, like if you win some, you get money too, right? So that's the saddest part as a social enterprise based startup or social impact based startup, is that the part where you finally become sustainable by yourself will take quite a bit of time. So you definitely need some form of way to get money, to get support. And for us, I think we already have term sheets from investors, but we didn't pick it up because I think like Sherry, like we are also looking at becoming something more sustainable by ourselves. And currently our team is only 10 people. So honestly, our burn rate isn't that high yet. So we could still sustain ourselves with what we're doing right now. But yeah, generally don't just look at grants, look at programs. Because I think that's where it leads you to like more mentors and more potential clients and potentially getting like bigger contracts and finally becoming sustainable. But honestly, super a lot of grants, especially when you are at that age. Yeah. So yeah.
So
So
I
don't be
mean,
afraid.
whether social enterprise or not, like there's just a lot of things out there right now, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I see. I think there's been a lot of investment and a lot of focus on startups in the last 2-3 years, like way more than when I started. Yeah, and there's so much programs out there also, and there's also like like really nice people who are giving back. I'm not talking about myself, of course, like Sherry and Miss Sims, yeah, but I'm a part of them, I guess. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people who are like actively, talking or mentoring other people who are younger now. So the pool, as long as you're willing to step out, it's really easy to get some form of support or be pointed in the right direction to get like funding or program to like groom you a little more, to be more prepared on what's next. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you. And I mean, Nick, so were there any like challenges that you faced as well, like when you first started outside? Like especially when you said donkey years ago when there wasn't that much help and grants.
I think yes, like for sure. Like the first time that you
Yeah.
sit as the CEO of your company, in that sense, I never used that title until 2 years. And when you have that money in the bank and employees and payroll, CPF, it's a whole different ball game from what you see in TV or or whatever you learn in business school. right? They prep you with all the
Yeah.
theory, and then suddenly now you're counting CPF. And next thing you know, you're like preparing, oh, how should I handle payroll? Like, do I need to send
Okay.
like, something for them to sign whenever I pay them their money? Right? How do I do increments? Like, there's so many operational, like nitty-gritty stuff that happens when you're starting, and especially when you're a student. So I think the beauty of it, especially since you guys are part of NUS also, right? Like, there's always like, NOC. I think like this is probably one of the biggest.
Oh, yeah.
There's always like peer groups. So generally I had a lot of help from like older founder friends. And eventually then I started merging with like the younger founders who are around my age when they started coming out later on. Yeah, so I think it kind of depends on you learning from other founders around you, like on how everyone started to handle stuff. So a lot of us shared our terms of use, how we do commercial contract, etc. And yeah, the difficulty there was definitely like, I think like admitting that you are weak in a lot of areas when you finally start up, right? So yeah, I think the difficulty was really getting to solve all of these parts to make the business a business and not that it's just a project that you're working on with your friends. I think that's the transition that was really tough for me at a later stage of when I was running outside. I'll say that most of the parts that happened at the beginning, like the discrimination part doesn't happen anymore. But there's definitely something about, like if that person looks very young and you're there for networking, you probably won't think that there's much value there, to be very frank. That's what happened to me and my team when we started when we were younger. So I think we generally, that gave us a very bad taste of going to networking events. So that's probably the big thing that happened back then. But now I think you're starting to see that there's more and more talents. Like a lot of people are seeing the value in their interns. We retain quite a number of hours too. That the younger ones are picking up. They're starting to show that they understand quite a bit too. That I think the whole stigma is gone. So I think you guys don't need to worry that much about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nick. All right. I think we maybe we'll go through some questions. We have some questions on Slido. So yeah, let me just share my screen over to that right now. Yeah. Okay, so I think maybe first question that we can go through, like hi speakers. Yeah, so they want to ask, what are some of your motivations that drove you to do what you do and reach where you are today? Yeah, so anybody can go first. Miss Sim, do you want to go first? I think maybe you have the most experience and the most you can share about for this.
Okay, I think for me and for my team, I think I speak for everyone in the Food from the Hearts team. I think the motivations are really the beneficiaries. Like today when we ran the campaign and you see the beneficiaries' face light up, I think that's the greatest motivation we have. And I think that's drive us to do what we do every day, and we try to better how we can give better, how to enhance the experience. So that's from the beneficiary side. When we talk to volunteers, we get paid. I get paid. So I'm not a free for service. I get paid. So that, of course, is my motivation as well. Okay. But our volunteers, they come in, day in, day out. Even as we speak today now at this hour, we have our bread runners, whom we call bread runners. They are our volunteers. They actually go to our bakeries, participating bakeries, to collect unsold surplus bread at the end of a business day. And then they straight away deliver it to the receiving welfare homes, nursing homes, or our partners. And then next morning, that is the breakfast, right? So the quality of food is there, because if you buy bread today, it's also your breakfast tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Unless you wake up in the middle of the night and you consume it, right? But so I think we get very heartwarming moments with volunteers, with our beneficiaries, and with corporates who share what we're doing and they agree and they support what we're doing. I think those are the things that drives us a lot. Everybody says joining social service, right? You expect lower pay. Okay, and it's quite true. Okay, so yeah, so but the thing is, while we get paid, but the team has the heart and the right values to do the right things for the beneficiaries. And I think that is what really drives the entire team. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Miss Sim. Sherry, do you want to go next?
Oh, okay, sure. Talking about pay, I haven't had pay in like in a while. Yeah, so that's one thing you have to be prepared for. If you're not going the VC route, even then they don't pay, they don't expect you to pay yourselves a lot anyway. I think the motivation for me is I am an entrepreneur by heart. This is not my first business. I like creating things, and I would say that for most founders, you have to be a little bit crazy to do something like that, because it's really like it is inspiring, but it's also very scary. If you are motivated purely by money, it's probably better off trying to do something else, because the risk and reward can be tilted a lot. But I think I know that I had to do it. Otherwise, I will be thinking about it in my old age, which is a regret. I don't think I would want to live with the regret if I know that this is something that I want to build and I know how to, that if I am prepared for the risk and I've assessed it and it's really something that I'm willing to take, that I can do it. The cause of what you want to fix as an issue, you have to be passionate about. So I happen to like my work a lot. I just didn't like how it was run. So that area of work that I'm trying to fix is also another plus for me. Yeah. How about you, Nicholas?
Yeah, well, I think mine, I can't really speak for my whole team, because ultimately, you know, everyone kind of have different things that motivate them. But for myself and my co-founders at least, I think what motivated us to start was different. What we wanted when we were a student back then was to create a way for people to get help from people outside of where they usually seek help from. So we were focusing on this pool of people who are outside the labor force, so like 1.2 million people in Singapore, you know, that whole thing. But really, the motivation only happened like this huge thing that made me feel like I had to stay on, which is why I stayed on for the last 6 years, right? Was the first time that I connect two strangers, oh, not me, sorry, our platform. Our platform connected two strangers to get a task done. I still remember it's something very weird. It was literally sending a poster from Hougang to Serangoon for $10. And the amount of pride that we felt when something we created actually made a difference was what kept us going from that period. And yeah, Sherry is right too. Like I think I didn't have pay for like the first 2-3 years. And after that, like first year of COVID, we donated everything, so we all didn't get paid too. So it's amazing that my team stayed on, to be honest. I really owe them a lot. Yeah, and I think slowly during the COVID period, the thing that really helped us with the pivot, right, was we started helping a certain delivery app to expand into Singapore. I can't name them because of the contract, but yeah, generally we worked with them and we created honestly quite a bit of earnings for our users. And you can see down to the level that me and one of my co-founders, Tristan, will actually meet the drivers to onboard them, like personally, like because some of them are not tech savvy. And you start seeing like them like being so happy that they earn enough money that they can buy a new phone to upgrade and ask us how should we use the app on this phone now. Like that level of motivation to actually see like you're actually changing people's life, and that people are like really, really happy that you're giving them like ways to earn money while they are like doing other jobs. I think to be very frank also, like Tristan, our COO, is there because he's usually the guy who's guarding money. Because I definitely screwed up by making sure that we're helping people more than we're making money. So we had to counterbalance me, right? But the two of us also focused on like this whole thing that we just realized that it was really, really a great experience for us. And we decided to pivot the whole company towards this direction instead. So I'll say that like, yeah, that's probably what kept us going. Like seeing what you created and, you know, like the impact that you are creating for people at the same time is really quite heartwarming for us. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Nick. I think that was kind of funny how you said that your CEO balances you out. Yeah, but
don't tell him I said that though. Yeah, he's not being me. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Can we go on to the next question? So, next question is asking, so do you guys have any future plans to scale up your company's impact?
I'll go first then.
Okay.
We are looking at more shops in the future that will actually help to empower beneficiaries with choice and you know, enhance the way we give food support. At the same time, we are also we have a super bun app. Super Bun. Bun comes from the bread run, so it was named Super Bun. This was actually an app that was done in 2015, if I'm not wrong, by during a SLA hackathon, and a team of students actually won the prize of the hackathon, and we actually commissioned them to do this particular app. And they've all grown up. So we actually don't have the source code for the Apple version. So now it's causing us a lot of problems. The Android, the team that was working on the Android is still in connection with us. So that's something else that we're going to do. We managed to secure Presence Challenge funding for that. So in the next 9 months, we'll be actually doing up this app. And we want to then make use of this app to actually give volunteers a good experience. We have a base of about 10,000 volunteers, and every day we still have volunteers coming in. Having volunteers leave with a positive experience actually help us in our cause. So, but for us to appreciate our volunteers, right? Even if one gift is $1 and we pay SingPost another $1, it's going to cost us 25,000 to just thank our volunteers. And we really cannot afford that. So we're going to make use of technology to enhance the experience of our volunteers and also help in terms of the food distribution side of it. So those are the plans that we're coming up for next year. We are also hoping to work with young people like yourself next year in engaging in conversations and maybe in hackathons and productive products that can help us in our work. Just to share, we are working with SUSS under their adult learning course, a digital video production class, and we are the client, and the students are grouped into 5 groups, and we'll be getting actually 5 videos free. But the videos is actually their work assignment, but we have actually sort of gave them the specs. So these are things that we're working on in the next 1 to 2, probably the next 12 months. COVID has shown us also that nowadays you can't really do long-term planning like 5 years, like 3 years. The world is revolving around much faster 24/7. Things change in months, in probably under 12 months time. So we really now taking things a little bit slower in terms of planning for the longer term. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Miss Sim. Sherry, do you want to go next?
Again, very embarrassing to be talking about impact. Impact is far from very big.
Okay, or like just scale up, yeah.
But to scale up, we recently incorporated in Hong Kong. Our next market initially was going to be Malaysia, but for several reasons, we decided to scale to Hong Kong first. Mostly because the ecosystem is easier to set up. And considering the travel restrictions and stuff in COVID, it was still very possible doing things in Hong Kong. I think in terms of behavior-wise also, we're very similar, these 2 countries amongst Asia. So it's easier for us to move up.
I think did Sherry get cut a bit?
In the market for about 3 months. Unstable, was it?
Oh, it's okay.
Is it okay
back
now?
You're back now, yeah.
Yeah, talking about how I feel like Singaporeans should perhaps know what's going on in some other countries, that people who are earning the same income, they cannot dream of owning homes because they really cannot even afford it. The tycoons there have raised the prices so high that it's just impossible, and there's no really real public housing supplies for them. So investment is actually something that comes into their mind much earlier than Singaporeans. That's something we found. Sorry, I sidetracked a little bit.
It's okay. Okay, Nick.
Yep. Okay. I think for us, right now, yeah, it's only one part of the whole solution that we want to build, of course. So what people are saying is the job component, whereby people can pick up micro jobs. But for us, we have always seen ourselves as a platform that's not just for earning, but learning, which is why if you see us on certain social media channels, it's micro bracket L earning opportunities, right? So the whole thing that we are piping up now with all the partnerships that we're signing is pretty much for nano learning content and possibly looking at certification and courses. So we are actually building this thing out called Outside Academy. So we haven't actually announced it yet, but currently we are designing and signing up partnerships, and we plan to launch this over the next 2-3 quarters, like something of an MVP there. But yeah, we still need to focus on making money with the job part. So it's something that I'm fighting for, but the whole management team is against. So blame them on why the academy can't come out earlier. But yeah, I think it's just reasonable planning for now. And I think beyond that, I think expansion, I actually spent half a year in Seoul last year for expansion, but I just chose to come back because we decided that we'll focus on the domestic market. So we haven't really thought about scaling up across other countries yet, especially since we started doing SingPass and we're planning to do skills future courses. So that's also a trap. If you want to create more social impact globally, then you shouldn't do something so local based. But for us, we already designed it so that it could be removed when we go overseas. And we're also planning content that can be taken online. So it's still scalable in a sense, but the focus right now is definitely on doing what we can for Singapore before we actually expand over the next 2-3 years. We still got some time before the BTO stress comes. So yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nick. Okay, sorry, I think we're running out of time, so we won't go through with the rest of the questions. Yeah, so now, I think I just want to invite the speakers like Nissim, Nick, and Sherry, like if you guys have any final words you guys want to tell us, or anything or any advice for our students, you can just go ahead and share with us now.
Maybe I can go first this time. I think I would like to think that we are similarly aged, although I'm clearly delusional. So yeah, the thing is that I think I was probably around your age when I started, and I honestly think that I don't really regret taking this path. Of course, like you see your friends earning that 4-5K from all of the other MNCs and stuff. But the thing is that I think you get to find out a lot more about what motivates you, and you get to learn a lot more when you get your hands dirty when you want to start something. So especially the question that Zamin asked earlier, right? If resources is the thing that is, something that you're thinking about, is not wrong either. Because that's the lesson I didn't learn when I was younger. I kept thinking about how much value I can bring for people, that I end up trapping my whole team in a whole endless spiral of not earning money. Because we see opportunity to help, we just jump on and help. Yeah, and I think that's wrong. Like you guys should value yourself more and try to fight for both money while creating impact at the same time. But always appreciate the team that's around you. Like I think that's the main thing that's making things different from me also. I know I said that they're holding me back from academy, but I also think that setting up your own systems in a company is what makes a company a company. It can't be, like a dictatorship when you run a company as well. So find people you trust, find something you love, and just take a lead. Like just do whatever you think you could add value to, and the solution always change. So don't worry if you got the correct answer, as long as the direction that you think is suitable for you is right. Just go. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, for me, right, I think for
Nissim, do you want to go?
Yes, I think talking to all of you, you're really like my nephews and nieces ages. And I think I totally echo what Nicholas has said. You must first look after yourself. You are able to sustain yourself, then you can help to look after and reach your other goals. So even for Food from the Heart, we always look at how can we sustain ourselves first before you can look after other people. So while we may want to look at external how we serve other people, but in-house housekeeping must be done. If your house is not in order, you can't actually you can't make an impact, and that impact won't last. I think when we talk about impact and you want to make change, it should not be a 5-minute glam moment. It should be something very sustainable. So really think through the process, take baby steps first, and then you can fly. I think the world is your oyster. especially with Zoom and with COVID, there's no more barriers, like what Sherry said, right? You can employ anyone around the world. And that is what Singapore workers will be facing, the challenge of the world. And you all belong to that generation where you'll be vying for a lot of opportunities with the entire world. So it's not going to be so straightforward like my generation. But I think you all have the skills and the tenacity and the resilience to do it. So, well, just give it a go.
So,
Thank you, Miss Sim.
if I do assume that you guys are mostly tech people, I think what I benefited from was that while reiterating the business idea, talking to more people helped. And it gives you a different perspective. For you guys, I think there are also internships that you might be mandatory for you to do. So I think that will be an opportunity for you to learn the perspective from a real business. That is something that, you don't know what you don't know. So you got to go out there and then give it a go and then try, hopefully aim for a company that gives you the opportunity to try and learn what they're really doing. Cross-faculty thinking will be good because tech is the blood of a lot of things these days, but it's not the only thing that runs a business. In fact, you need marketing, you need operations, you need to be sustainable. So have more people talk to you about it, and then reiterate the idea that you have, make sure that it's viable. Talk to people that are mean, that will tell you right in the face that your idea sucks, and then you change it. Otherwise, spending the effort, even if you're young, is tiring and demoralizing to execute something for a year or two and to realize that actually it's really not what the market wants. But the benefit is, of course, you have the time to turn back and then go and try to do something else later if it does fail. A lot of these things does take one word though, which is grit, which is something that I think a lot of business owners and founders have. That is to have the tenacity to just stick to it, and if your idea doesn't work, you have to tweak it and then just go on. But if you don't have the grit, you don't have that willpower to continue. At the same time, it's also important to have the support of people around you, whether you have a partner or a family member, to take care of yourself so that you can spend the next year working 12 to 16 hours a day and have your food on the table, your clothes washed, and your room cleaned. You need to have that support. But of course, with that, you need to tell the people around you what the plan is, and if the plan doesn't work, when you cut losses. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's what I would say is important to think about. Yeah, and meanwhile, we're happy for anybody to reach out to me. We're starting also a student-based program for people to start thinking about what they can do when they start working, even prior to working. And it will greatly help us to also improve the user experience of our product, which is after all made for everyone to use. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Sherry. Okay. Yeah, I just want to take this moment to thank Miss Sim, Sherry, and Nick for sharing with us tonight and joining us tonight. I think that what you have shared with us is really insightful. I think we learned a lot from Miss Sim, from Food for the Heart. I think I think it's what you guys, first, I mean, of course, what you guys do is super noble, but even and when you shared with us about from the technology aspect as well, I think there's it's very innovative, the solutions and what you guys have done. And of course, at the heart of it, what truly drives the organization is helping the beneficiaries. And as for Sherry, I think now financial planning and everything is everyone knows a lot more about it now. In the past 2 or 3 years, I think accelerated a lot. So I think a lot of us are we're very interested about this topic as well, and we've learned a lot. And for Nick, your startup experiences, I think I think also again, I think we have a lot to learn from it. And now that we know that there's a lot more things out there, a lot more grants, a lot more programs, I think that a lot of us, my friends and I, will be a lot more inspired by what you guys have done. You guys have set the path for us to follow, and yeah, hopefully in the future there'll be greater things to come. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think also we're running out of time. Yeah, it's almost time soon. So thank you again, Christine, Sherry, and Nick, for sharing, for joining us tonight. So can I just invite all our participants? I mean, if you guys can, could you guys turn on your video for a second, so we could take like a picture together? Okay, I'll just stop sharing, right? Yeah.
If any one of you, are interested to go into the social service space, especially food, if you want to come in as a group to do a project for us, do approach us. We do take in interns, and there were interns who actually help us to do the bread run survey as well. And that has created an impact for us in how we chart directions forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think, yeah, don't worry, we recorded this meeting, so yeah, I think we can post it up later as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Samuel, could you take it soon? You want to give us like a countdown?
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks, Samuel. Okay, so yeah, with that, I think yeah, we can bring tonight to an end. So once again, thank you so much, Sherry, Nick, and Miss Sim, for joining us tonight. Yeah, on behalf of DSC and US.
Thank you guys for inviting.
Thanks everyone. And sorry, like if you all need to know where the grants are at, just PM me or something. I'll send you all the right way to. Sorry, I just realized I didn't name any of them, but it's not part of mine. I can Google it and compile it if you guys need it. All right, so yeah.
Sure, no
But yeah,
worries,
thanks for
mate.
having
Thank
me.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Miss Sim.
for having us. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good night.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.
Merry Christmas. Chris, your emceeing was great.
Hi, Joel. Oh, thank you.
Hi, Isaac. I see your name.
Oh, sorry.
How come it's Isaac?
I had a few bot accounts, so okay.
Okay, end the meeting.
Okay.